Listen to me, and listen carefully, because if you've been seeing strange signs lately, if the people who once stood tall over you are suddenly silent, cold, or disappearing from your life without explanation, it's not random, it's divine. You are a chosen one. And what's happening right now is nothing short of a spiritual reckoning. They're panicking. They can feel it in the spirit before it even hits the physical. Karma has opened its ledger and the bill is finally due. You've always felt it, haven't you? That deep knowing, that quiet pull in your soul. Even as a child, something about you was different. Maybe you were the one they laughed at, the one they dismissed, the one they isolated, all because your light made them uncomfortable. You weren't loud about it. You didn't seek revenge. You didn't fight the way they did, with bitterness, slander, manipulation. No, you stood still. You suffered in silence. You questioned your worth behind closed doors. You asked God why. Why do they hate me when I've done nothing but love? Why do they betray me when I've given everything? Why does it feel like life has been a battlefield and I'm always walking it alone? But now something is shifting. You can feel it in your bones. The ground trembling beneath you, the atmosphere thick with divine electricity. God has kept the score, and let me tell you something no one ever dared to say out loud. Those who hurt you never got away with it. They were just enjoying a temporary silence, a borrowed time. The karmic wheel was turning, slowly, quietly, and now it's speeding up. The ones who threw dirt on your name, their mouths are dry. The ones who plotted your downfall, they're living in anxiety now, haunted by the very traps they set for you. It's poetic, isn't it? The same mouths that mocked you now whisper your name in fear. They didn't know who you were. You see, God hid you in plain sight. You were placed among wolves so you could learn how to walk in the midst of enemies without flinching. You were not cursed. You were covered. And while they were busy laughing at your misfortunes, heaven was crafting your anointing in silence. The pain you went through wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Every betrayal carved out space for more power. Every rejection thickened your spiritual armor. And now the scales are being balanced. But here's what they didn't expect: that you would survive, that you would rise, that after everything they did, the sabotage, the gossip, the false accusations, you'd still be standing, stronger, wiser, untouchable. Because when you are chosen, your story is never dictated by man. It's written by God himself. And he never writes tragedy as your ending, only transformation. Right now, many of your enemies, and yes, we must call them what they are living under a storm they cannot explain. Things are falling apart in their lives. The relationships they used to boast about are unraveling. The opportunities they snatched away from you are now becoming burdens on their backs. And deep down, they know why. They feel the weight of what they did to you. They may never admit it. Pride will keep them silent, but make no mistake, they're terrified. And you? You don't even have to lift a finger. This isn't about vengeance. This isn't about wishing harm. This is about alignment. Spiritual justice, divine rebalancing. You've suffered enough. You've wept in secret long enough. You've endured delay after delay, setback after setback, and still, you kept your heart soft. You didn't turn to darkness. You didn't retaliate. You stayed rooted in truth, even when it cost you everything. And that, beloved, is why heaven is exalting you now. What you're walking into is not random success. It's the fruit of unseen endurance. It's the reward for your faithfulness. And the very ones who once said you were too sensitive, too weak, too emotional, are now realizing it wasn't weakness. It was divine sensitivity. You were hearing things they couldn't, feeling things they were numb to. You weren't soft. You were gifted. And they tried to destroy you before you realized it. But God, He covered you. He kept you hidden not because you were unworthy, but because the time wasn't right. Had you stepped into your power too soon, you would have trusted the wrong hands. You would have cast your pearls before swine. So he let you be overlooked. He let them count you out. He let them call you less than, average, and too much. Because while they were busy judging your appearance, heaven was building your throne. And now, with every rising sun, the veil is lifting, and what was once hidden is being revealed. You are not crazy for feeling the spiritual pressure building. It's real. The energy has shifted, and those who once mocked your name now dread your rise. Not because you seek revenge, but because they know your victory will expose their lies. Your elevation is a mirror to their actions, and that's why they're panicking. Karma doesn't wear a warning label. It doesn't knock. It arrives when the season shifts, and the season has shifted. The old has passed. The pain served its purpose. The tears watered the soil of your destiny. Now comes the bloom. You're walking into a time where vindication won't be a whisper, it will be a roar, where God doesn't just restore what was taken, but multiplies it. And the people who thought they buried you, they're about to realize you were a seed. This is not just your moment. This is your movement. Your spirit has been activated. And while others scramble to escape the consequences of their own deeds, you are being carried by the hand of the Almighty into everything that was ever promised to you. They're panicking, but you're rising, and this is only the beginning. You've fought battles they will never understand, silent wars, emotional fires, nights where sleep was a stranger, and days where you walked through crowds feeling completely invisible, not because you didn't matter, but because your spirit didn't belong among them. You were being prepared for something greater, and that kind of preparation doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in fire. Let them call you dramatic. Let them say you're overthinking, overfeeling, overreacting. What they don't realize is that your senses are divine instruments. You see through masks. You hear between the lines. You discern motives like radar, not because you're paranoid, but because you're spiritually equipped. You've walked through rooms with fake smiles all around you and still smiled back, knowing the very people laughing with you would be the ones to throw stones the moment you turned your back. But you didn't fold. Even when everything inside you screamed for justice, for answers, for release, you waited. You cried, yes. You questioned, yes, but you didn't become what tried to break you. That's what sets you apart. You've been through spiritual warfare most people couldn't survive. And you didn't just survive it. You evolved. Your wounds didn't close over bitterness. They became portals of wisdom. You carry truth in your bones now. That's why people are drawn to you but can't explain why they're also intimidated by you. Your presence awakens what they tried to bury within themselves. This is what they never understood. Your silence was never weakness. It was strategy. It was divine stillness. Because even in your lowest moments, God was fighting for you. When you lost the job, when the relationship crumbled, when friends walked away and family turned cold, heaven was rearranging the stage for your arrival. And now the curtains are pulling back. You're stepping into scenes you didn't even audition for, because the anointing speaks louder than credentials. The favor on your life is undeniable. Those who betrayed you were never powerful. They were tools, used, allowed, permitted to trigger the awakening inside of you. They were the sandpaper that sharpened your discernment, the pressure that forced your roots deeper, the storm that revealed your foundation. And now they're terrified, because you didn't die under what they hoped would destroy you. Let that sink in. They saw you fall, but they didn't stick around long enough to see you rise. They walked away thinking your story was over, that you'd break, that you'd vanish. But what they didn't realize is that every time you were cast aside, God was rewriting the script, not to erase your past, but to elevate it, to use it. Your pain has become prophecy. Your struggle, now a testimony. You're not just surviving, you're shining. You're walking proof that grace is real, that purpose cannot be buried, that the chosen can never be silenced. So now their spirits are uneasy. They sense it, that something has shifted in you, that quiet, subtle strength in your eyes, that calm knowing in your voice. that peace that no longer needs to be explained. They don't know how to respond to this version of you, healed, wiser, unfazed. Because the old you would have tried to convince them. The old you would have cried for closure, begged for understanding, wanted them to just see you. But the new you, the one God has been molding in the shadows, you've become a storm in stillness. And their fear isn't about what you'll do to them. It's about what your existence now exposes. They see now that the lies they told didn't kill your light, that the traps they set only accelerated your transformation, that while they were busy gossiping, you were growing. And while they built alliances of hate, you were building strength in solitude. You've become a mirror to their conscience, a living reflection of their guilt. Every time they hear your name, something inside them sinks. That's not by chance, that's karma echoing. God never forgot. Heaven took notes when you were crying in secret, when you gave love and got betrayal, when you walked away from situations that tried to corrupt you. You made hard choices that didn't make sense to anyone but your soul. And now every one of those choices is paying off. The same doors that closed in your face are being torn open by divine force. The same people who said you'd never make it are now watching you become what they never believed possible. And it's not just about the blessings that are coming. It's about who you've become on the way there. You've developed a spiritual resilience that can't be faked, a clarity that can't be taught. You've become a lighthouse, not because you asked for it, but because you were chosen for it, chosen to guide others, to awaken them, to show them that survival isn't the end, transformation is. And you didn't come this far just to live a quiet, average life. You came to make ripples in the unseen, to break generational chains, to speak truth in a world built on illusions. So yes, they're panicking, but not because they see your power, because they feel your purpose. And purpose makes the enemy tremble. Your very breath now carries authority. Your footsteps shake realms. You don't need a spotlight. Your spirit shines from within. You don't need revenge. Justice is already written in the stars. You don't need validation. Your path is confirmation enough. They underestimated your calling. They confused your humility for powerlessness. But now they're realizing what they touched. A divine vessel, a warrior clothed in light, a chosen soul, anointed, protected, unstoppable. And as they scramble, trying to repair what their own hands destroyed, as they watch you rise higher than they ever imagined, let them watch. Let them feel it, not out of pride, but as proof. Proof that divine timing is real, that protection isn't always loud, and that the ones they rejected were the very ones heaven had crowned. You've suffered long enough. Now it's time for the unveiling, and they'll witness every moment, not because you need them to see, but because God is making it undeniable. Let them panic. You just keep walking, chosen, covered, destined. There's a shift happening in the spirit, and it's no longer subtle. God is moving, but this time it's not just behind the scenes. This time, He's pulling back the curtain. He's revealing truth in public view. What was hidden in shadow is coming into the light, and those who thought they could get away with mistreating you are starting to feel the consequences hit with force. This is the season of exposure, of divine reversal. God is not just healing what was broken in you, He is correcting what was done to you. The lies that smeared your name, they're unraveling. The people who disrespected your loyalty, who used your kindness, who took your energy and left you empty, they're waking up in confusion. They don't understand why everything around them is falling apart. But you do. You know, because God is a God of justice. And His justice doesn't always arrive when we want it to. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it lets the wicked believe they've won, just long enough for their pride to set in, just long enough for them to feel untouchable. But then the reckoning comes, and it comes swift, not out of cruelty, but because heaven has a law that cannot be overturned. What is sown must be reaped. This is what they never considered, that every word spoken against you, every plan crafted in darkness, Every seed of envy they planted was a spiritual transaction. It didn't disappear. It was recorded, tallied, held in the balance until the time was right. And now the time has come. Chosen one, you are not crazy for sensing it. That stirring, that shift. You're not imagining the silence from people who once obsessed over you, that sudden distance, that strange tension when you walk in the room. It's not in your head. It's their shame rising, their guilt surfacing, their demons reacting to your presence. Because the more you align with your divine path, the more the truth of who you are disturbs the lies they tried to build their lives upon. And still, you don't gloat. That's the beauty of your spirit. You don't celebrate their downfall. You mourn that it even had to come to this, that people could have just been honest, that they could have healed with you, grown with you, elevated together, but instead they chose to betray, to manipulate, to compete. And now the mirror has turned. God is doing what only He can do, making your enemies your footstool, not to trample on, but to rise upon. Every plot is now a platform, every betrayal a breakthrough, every delay a doorway, and your life is becoming a living parable, a message not just to you but through you, a testimony that no matter how long injustice hides, truth always finds a way to rise. You're not just a survivor, you're a symbol. You're the evidence that when God marks someone, no amount of darkness can cancel it. You were chosen not just for the blessing, but for the burden, not just for the crown, but for the cross you had to carry silently. And now the resurrection of your life is what's making them tremble. Because your rise isn't built on ego, it's built on endurance. It's built on nights you didn't sleep, on prayers you whispered when no one saw, on moments when you could have snapped but didn't, when you could have retaliated but chose grace. That's why your elevation is so dangerous. It wasn't handed to you, it was earned through fire. And the truth is, this level of favor doesn't come cheap. It costs everything, your comfort, your relationships, sometimes even your identity. You had to lose who you thought you were to become who you were born to be. And that version of you, the real you, is a direct threat to every lie, every system, every person who built their illusion on your silence. This is why they're panicking. Not just because karma is knocking, but because they see what's coming for you. And they know they're not part of it. They're not just watching your glow up, they're witnessing divine reversal in motion. And it's waking up every insecurity they tried to suppress. Every shadow they thought they buried is now screaming under the weight of your light. But here's the thing, this moment isn't just about them. It's about you finally believing in your own worth, your own calling, your own voice. For too long, you questioned if you were imagining it all, if maybe you were too much, if maybe you were the problem. But now the fruit of your patience is undeniable. The harvest is here, and it's holy, so don't shrink back. Don't downplay your glow because others are uncomfortable. Don't soften your power to make broken people feel safe in their shadows. You've earned this moment. You've bled for it. And now it's time to walk in it boldly, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. Because when God raises you, it's not just about your story. It's about the souls watching from afar, wondering if they're next. It's about the silent observers who see your breakthrough and remember that theirs is possible too. And if you're listening to this right now, I'm here to tell you, yes, it's possible. Yes, your story matters. Yes, you're not crazy for feeling like you're being carried by something bigger than yourself. That's divine movement. That's spiritual justice. That's heaven rewriting everything that once felt unfinished in your life. But don't just watch it happen. Align with it. Walk like you're chosen. Speak like you're protected. Move like every step is ordered, because it is. And let those who misused you deal with their own reflection. That's not your burden anymore. You are free, not just spiritually, but emotionally, mentally, energetically. Their karma is not your concern. Your healing is. So I want you to declare it now, not for anyone else, but for yourself. I am chosen, I am covered, I am rising, and no force in this world or the next can stop what God has ordained for me. Let that sit in your soul. And as you walk through this season, remember, every blessing coming your way has your name on it. Every miracle was tailor-made. Every breakthrough was built for you, not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. And heaven always honors faith. So when you see their panic, don't react. Stay still, stay focused, stay grateful. Because while they scramble under the weight of their own karma, you are walking into everything they said you'd never have. This is your time. You've probably asked yourself over and over again, why me? Why did they target me? Why did they lie on me, isolate me, drain me, disrespect me, betray me, even when all I offered was love? Why did I have to be the one carrying pain that wasn't mine to hold? The answer is both simpler and more profound than you think. You were never attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were powerful, not just in a worldly way, but spiritually. Your light revealed darkness. Your purity exposed corruption. Your loyalty disrupted deception, and that made you dangerous to people who were committed to wearing masks. The paradox is this: people don't always hate you for what you do. They hate you for who you remind them they are not. You reminded them of what they buried, of what they lost, of what they were too afraid to become. Your authenticity was a mirror, and they couldn't handle what it reflected back. Instead of healing, they chose to hurt you. Instead of rising with you, they tried to pull you down. And this is the bitter truth. The attacks against you were never personal. They were spiritual. You were born with a frequency that couldn't be faked. You walk into a room and energy shifts. People become uneasy. Some get inspired, others get defensive. Why? Because your presence forces decisions. You either align with it or you get exposed by it. And most people, if they haven't done the inner work, will choose resistance over reflection. They'll project their wounds onto you and call it your fault. But deep down, they know you were the light bearer. That's why so many of them are panicking now. Because their actions were not just cruel, they were karmic triggers. They underestimated spiritual law. They thought because you didn't fight back that God wasn't watching. But God was silent, not absent. And now everything they sent your way is returning to them magnified, not because you wished it, but because you were never meant to carry the weight of their decisions. Some of the people who hurt you are now facing confusion in their minds. Some are losing sleep, losing peace, losing opportunities that seemed so certain, and they don't know why, but you know, because spiritual justice doesn't knock. It walks in, quiet but undeniable, and it doesn't require your permission. God handles what we can't. That's why he said, "Vengeance is mine." But you weren't just a victim in this. You were in training. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every loss purified your motives. Every lonely season trained your spirit to hear God more clearly. And now you understand that not all battles are meant to be fought on, the flesh. Some victories come through stillness. Some wins come when you don't respond, because your silence speaks louder than anything words could ever say. Let's go even deeper, because this isn't just about what people did to you. It's about why your soul chose this path, why you, out of billions, carry this specific calling. The truth? You're not just here to heal, you're here to awaken others, to dismantle patterns that have been cycling through bloodlines, to bring light into generational darkness, to break spiritual contracts signed long before you were born. You are a disruptor, a divine interruption in a world of illusions. And that's why the enemy came for you early, because he saw what you were becoming before you even understood it yourself. He saw your future victories in the spirit and tried to abort them in the natural. That's why your childhood may have been full of chaos, why people treated you like a threat long before you ever had a platform or position. It wasn't about what you had, it was about who you were becoming. This is the law of spiritual polarity. The greater the light, the greater the resistance. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're getting close to something right. Every time you rise, dark forces panic. Every time you elevate, systems built on control begin to tremble, because your awakening is contagious. You don't just speak truth, you carry it in your aura. You walk it, you bleed it, you live it. And this is why karma is now delivering, not just to punish others, but to set you free from spiritual debt you never owed in the first place. You were carrying burdens from relationships that were spiritually imbalanced, giving to people who never had the capacity to reciprocate, staying connected to situations that only delayed your destiny. And God, in His mercy, is removing those attachments. That's why it feels like people are dropping off suddenly, like energy is being cut without explanation. That's divine separation, not rejection, protection. Don't fight it. Let them go. Let the silence stay. Because every exit creates space for alignment, for real connection, for people who see you and honor what God is doing in you. Don't be surprised when old relationships crumble and new ones appear from unexpected places. You've entered a different spiritual atmosphere now, one where only those walking in truth can breathe. You've outgrown environments that once felt like home, and that's okay. Growth is lonely before it becomes abundant. But make no mistake, you're not alone. You're surrounded by angels, covered by grace, backed by heaven. And the world? It's watching. They're watching how you didn't curse those who cursed you, how you didn't expose those who tried to destroy you, how you kept walking with your head high, even when your heart was breaking. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you dangerous. You don't need revenge. You carry resurrection power. Everything they thought they killed in you has come back stronger. You don't even look like what you've been through. And that's intentional. God made sure your scars turned into stars, that your pain turned into prophecy, that your wounds became weapons of light. And now every step you take radiates a quiet authority that can't be faked or stolen. They feel it, the shift, the consequence, the divine reckoning. But you feel something else. Peace. A strange, steady, divine peace. The kind that lets you sleep at night knowing God is working even when you don't see it. The kind that silences anxiety. The kind that says it is finished. And it is. You've crossed a spiritual threshold. The karma they called down upon themselves is not your burden to carry. You've been released. You've been redeemed. You've been restored. Now walk in it, boldly, gracefully, unapologetically, because the war is over. So here you are now, standing in the light of your becoming. The fire didn't consume you. The betrayal didn't break you. The silence didn't erase you. It all refined you, molded you, crowned you in ways no human hand ever could. And though the world may never fully understand what you've walked through, heaven knows, God knows, and that's more than enough. You were always the chosen one. From the moment your soul entered this realm, your journey was marked, not for comfort, but for calling, not for popularity, but for purpose. And while others built their identities on approval, you were built through adversity. You were not made in crowds. You were shaped in isolation. And now everything that once confused you makes sense. Every storm had a purpose. Every loss had a hidden gain. Every ending was a disguised beginning. They're panicking now because they see what they could no longer deny. You were never average. You were never small. You were never weak. You were hidden, yes, but only because light shines brightest when it finally breaks through the dark. And that's exactly what you've done. You broke through, and you're not going back. So what happens now? Now you walk in authority, not in arrogance, but in divine confidence. You don't have to explain who you are anymore. You don't need their validation. The evidence is your life, the clarity in your spirit, the power in your presence, the peace in your steps. You walk like someone who has nothing to prove, because the war was already won in the spirit. long before it showed up in the natural. And while others scramble, still trying to cover their tracks, still trying to undo the damage they caused, still pretending they didn't know better, you've been released. You're no longer carrying what doesn't belong to you. You're no longer trying to fix what was never yours to hold. You are free. And freedom, beloved, freedom is terrifying to those still in chains. But don't go back for them. Don't shrink to fit into the mold you've already outgrown. If they couldn't honor you in your becoming, they don't deserve access to your becoming fulfilled. This isn't bitterness. It's discernment. Forgiveness does not require reunion. You can bless them in your heart and still walk away in truth. You can wish them peace and still choose silence. That's what healed people do, because now your focus is on your calling. You've crossed over into a season where everything aligns with your divine design. The people, the places, the doors, the timing. It's all coming together like pieces of a divine mosaic. And it's not random, it's not luck, it's not karma in the worldly sense. It's spiritual alignment. You're no longer chasing things. Things are gravitating toward you. Why? Because when you walk in purpose, provision follows. And the whispers. Let them whisper. Let them wonder how you're glowing when they expected you to crumble. Let them ask how you're thriving when they tried to cut off your source. The truth is, they don't need to know. What matters is you know who carried you, you know who healed you, you know who anointed you in the secret place when no one was watching, and now the same God who restored you is making sure your victory is visible. But don't forget, your journey is not just for you. There are others who are watching you closely, souls who feel lost, who are still in their breaking point, who are praying the same prayers you once whispered in desperation. They need to see your light. They need your voice. Your healing is now a lifeline. Your survival is a map. So walk boldly, speak truthfully, love fearlessly. The world needs the real you now, not the one you had to shrink into to make others comfortable. And if your spirit still trembles a little, if part of you still feels the residue of old pain, if you still have days where you question your worth, that's okay. That's human. But just know, you're not standing alone anymore. Your angels go before you. The hand of God surrounds you. The ancestors who prayed for your lineage are rising in you. You are not a mistake. You are not invisible. You are chosen, marked, covered. So now speak it. Let it leave your lips like a decree written in heaven. I am chosen. I am rising. I am divinely protected. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. No lie spoken against me shall stand. I walk in truth. I walk in grace. I walk in power. And everything meant for my harm is now turning for my good. Say it again. Say it for the version of you who once doubted. Say it for the child in you who was ignored. Say it for the teenager who was misunderstood. Say it for the adult who cried in silence. Say it for your future self, the one who will look back and say, I made it, because you have. You are no longer bound by fear, betrayal, or the shadows of your past. You are the light, and now it's your time to shine. Let them panic. You were always meant to ascend. This is your divine rising.